Hi everyone in my Gold Experience B1 class. I hope you are all well and hope you are not working too hard. I hope you are working hard, but not too hard. Okay, so welcome to your first YouTube video with yours truly. And over the next number of weeks, possibly the next couple of weeks at least, you will have me on this, okay? So in the description below this video, I will leave my contact details if you have any questions, and I am open to suggestions or ideas, okay? So what we are going to look at today is we're going to be looking at passive. Okay, so we're looking at the passive. So you will need your textbooks for this, okay? So I need you to turn to your textbooks and turn to page 136. 136. And before we start into this, just remember this video is in two parts. So in this part, we'll be talking about the passive only, okay? And in the second half, we'll be looking at vocabulary, all right? Okay, so what is the passive? Well, this simple passive uses both two tenses. So there's two types of them. There's present simple passive, as you can see in the top left-hand corner, and past simple passive. If you look at how it is formed in red, you will see that to form the present simple passive, we have subject, or this maybe, plus the verb to be with am, is, or are, and past participle. Okay, past participle, and occasionally with by. Okay, past participle, just remember, is the third column in basic irregular verbs and in verb forms. Okay, in general verb forms, you have present form, you have your past simple form, and then you have your past participle. Okay. So for example, if you look at some of the sentences in the boxes, you have, for example, the river is cleaned every year, okay? Every year. So one time a year, the river is cleaning. So it is cleaned once a year. The second example, the articles, which, for example, you did recently, are written by the students. So they are written by the students. You. So you are the students. On the other hand, we also have past simple passive, which will be in the second set of boxes. Difference with present simple passive and past simple passive. With past simple passive, we use subject along with the verb to be, which is was or were, and a past participle, or occasionally with the preposition by. So, for example, the caves, like some in Majorca, the Drach caves, which I will point out another time, were found by a tourist. They're found by a tourist. Okay? So this is a very, very useful example of how we use past simple passive in this form. All right. So, what things do you need to remember and how are they formed? So we use the present simple passive for the following things. So pay attention to the points below. Point number 1. When we use present or past simple passive, we use it when we want to focus on the action more than the person that does or did the action. Hopefully you can understand what I mean by that. So what I mean by that is the action focuses on the action itself rather than the person or what the person did at that moment. So an example would be the old clothes. May I add, this is not old. The old clothes are recycled. So that means they're reused again. Or the bridge, think of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. The bridge was repaired. So that's one way. So it's focusing more on the action of what we're doing rather than what a person has done or did. The second point I want to point out to you all is when we don't know or don't want to know or want to say who does or who did the action, or when it is obvious who did it. So that's, for example, I'll rephrase that. We use present or past simple passive for the second point, which is when we don't know or do not want to say who does or did the action, or when it's obvious who did it. So when you're not clear on who exclusively did that, or who actually did that action, we use passive. So for example, the film was watched around the world. Like so. Around the world. Okay? Another point that I want to point out to you all, okay, so I have my notes here just to help you move forward. The next point I want you to look at, point number 3. We use passives for when we know or want to mention who does or did the action. We then use by. So we use by as a preposition. So for example, the island was discovered by a famous scientist. If I discovered an island, I would probably live on it. Doubt it, but you get the idea. But I am no famous scientist. Famous English teacher? Maybe, but not a famous scientist. And finally, the last point for this part of this lesson. Verbs without object, for example, come, go, happen, or arrive, are not, I repeat, are not used in the passive because there is no object or a subject. So for example, you need to remember that when you are forming passives in this way, it is important that you always use the correct form of the verb to be. So to do this, you have to look at subject and think whether it's singular or plural. Okay? So it has to be singular or plural. So, for example, sentence A, the pizza was delivered by someone on a bike. Okay, it was delivered by someone on a bike. So, as you can see, the pizza in this case is singular. On the other side, in sentence 2, pizzas were invented in Italy. So pizzas, plural, and therefore were invented in Italy. Okay? Now, here is the first activity. Okay? And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to write. Okay? Write in the comments below or email me. Okay? So, what you have to do in this part, at the end of this part of the video, look at page 137. Okay? 137. All right? What I want you to do, using the notes on page 136, I want you to complete activity 1, activity 2, and activity 3. You complete them and you'll be able to give me your answers accordingly. You can write them, take a photo, or type them and then send them to me by email. Okay? Now, that is the end of part 1 of this lesson. And stay tuned for part 2. When you are finished this activity, go to part 2 and we will go through vocabulary. All right? Now, off you go and complete your practice activities, please.